Have you ever wondered why some older men, despite having wisdom, experience and stability, completely lose the attention of younger women almost instantly? Why is it that one man walks into a room and younger women can't help but notice him, while another, though perhaps better, looking or even richer, gets ignored or dismissed? Before we dive in, I want you to do two things. First, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, because what I'm about to share can truly change your love life and give you a deeper understanding of attraction. And second, watch this video until the very end, because if you miss even one of these 7 habits, you might unknowingly kill attraction without realizing it. Now let me build some context. Stoic philosophy, especially the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, teaches us that control over ourselves is the greatest power we can have. In relationships, especially with younger women, the problem is not that men age. It's that many men lose the very qualities that once made them attractive in the first place. They fall into patterns, habits, and behaviors that signal weakness instead of strength, insecurity instead of confidence, and desperation instead of calm presence. And younger women, whether consciously or not, pick up on these signals immediately. Attraction is less about money or looks than it is about energy, mindset, and the way you carry yourself. So, let's go through the 7 habits that kill attraction, one by one, using both stories and the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius to guide us. 1. Flaunting wealth instead of character. When you first fell in love, did you care about what car the other person drove, what clothes they wore, or how much money they had in their bank account? Or did you care more about how they made you feel, how they looked into your eyes, how they listened to you, how they made you laugh when you least expected it? Think back for a moment. Remember the first time someone held your hand and you felt that spark? Did it cost a single dollar? No, it was real, raw, and priceless. Now here's where many older men make their first mistake with younger women. They think money will replace those sparks. They start flaunting their wealth, showing off cars, watches, fancy dinners, and designer suits, believing that's what will create attraction. But in reality, it's the opposite. It kills it. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named David in his late 40s, successful by society's standards. He had worked hard, built a business, and enjoyed the fruits of his labor. When he started dating younger women, his entire strategy revolved around money. He picked them up in his luxury car, reserved the most expensive tables at restaurants, and never missed a chance to casually mention his investments. At first, the women smiled, maybe even played along, but deep down something was missing. They weren't attracted to David, they were entertained by the lifestyle. And slowly, as the weeks went by, the conversations grew dull, because every time he talked, it was about what he had, not who he was. One woman finally told him, "You don't even look at me when we talk. You just try to impress me. I don't care about your money. I want to feel something real." That moment broke him, but it was also his wake-up call. Here's the truth. Younger women, just like any human being, crave authenticity. They crave the feeling of being seen, heard, and valued, not as an accessory to your lifestyle, but as a woman. When you lead with wealth, you hide your character. You tell her, without words, "I don't believe I'm enough without these things," and attraction dies right there. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." A good man doesn't need to announce his worth. It radiates through his actions, his presence, and his energy. So let me ask you again, what do you think your past loves remember about you? The shoes you wore? The wallet you pulled out? Or the way you made them feel alive, safe, and wanted? That's what younger women are looking for too. Not your possessions, but your presence. Not your riches, but your richness of spirit. And when you show that, you'll realize attraction is never about wealth. It's about the man you are when all the money is stripped away, or being stuck in the past. Have you ever sat across from someone you cared about, only to realize that half the conversation was them reliving their past? Maybe they kept talking about an ex, about the glory days of their youth, or about how things used to be better back then. How did it make you feel? A little invisible, right? as if you were competing with memories you could never live up to. Now, here's the hard truth. This is exactly what many older men do with younger women. They don't even realize it, but they get stuck in the past. Instead of showing who they are now, or better yet, who they're still becoming, they tell endless stories of what they used to be. Think about this for a second. Picture a man, let's call him Robert. He's 50, charming, smart, and successful. But every date with a younger woman turns into a time machine. He says things like, "Back when I was in college, I had so many girls chasing me," or, "When I was in my 20s, I could drink all night and still show up fresh to work." At first, maybe she laughs politely. Maybe she even finds a story or two interesting. But slowly something shifts. She begins to think, if his best days are behind him, what does that say about me being with him now? Is he already finished with life? Is the only thing he has left memories? And the attraction begins to fade. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He understood that the past is a shadow, it's already gone. The present is where life happens, and that's where real attraction grows. Now let's flip the script. Imagine Robert changes. Instead of saying, "I used to be fit," he starts showing up to the gym again. Instead of talking about what he used to do, he talks about what he's working on right now. A new project, a new skill, maybe even planning travel or adventures for the future. Do you see the difference? Suddenly, he's not just a man with a history, he's a man with momentum. And momentum is magnetic. Younger women aren't looking for a man whose life is winding down. They're drawn to a man who carries life in his eyes. A man who's still chasing growth, who's still alive in the present moment. So let me ask you, what do your past loves remember about you? Was it the endless stories of what once was? Or was it those little sparks in the now? The way you laughed together? The way you made ordinary moments feel unforgettable? Because here's the truth. Women don't fall in love with your history. They fall in love with your presence. If you're stuck in the past, you're not really with her, you're somewhere else. And sooner or later she'll notice. Attraction dies not when you get older, but when you stop living here, now, today. Overcompensating with jealousy or control. Have you ever been in love with someone who didn't trust you? No matter what you did, they kept checking your phone, questioning your every move, and doubting your loyalty. How did it feel? Draining, right? Like love wasn't enough. Now imagine being a younger woman, full of life and energy, stepping into a relationship with an older man. She admires his wisdom, his maturity, maybe even the stability he brings. But then, little by little, he starts showing cracks of insecurity. He notices every time she laughs at another man's joke. He gets quiet when she mentions a male co-worker. He demands to know why she didn't answer his text immediately. At first, she brushes it off. He just cares, she tells herself. But over time, it feels less like care and more like control. I want you to pause here and think of your own love story. When was the last time you felt truly free in a relationship, free to be yourself, without someone watching your every step? Isn't that the kind of love we all want? The kind where trust is so strong, you don't have to prove yourself every second. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Jealousy is the opposite of that wisdom. It's an attempt to control what you cannot control. It's fear disguised as love, and nothing suffocates attraction faster. Let me give you an example. There was a man named Charles. In his late 40s, he started dating a younger woman named Emily. At first, Emily admired his confidence and his sense of stability. But soon, Charles began to show a different side. If Emily didn't reply to his texts within 10 minutes, he'd ask, "Where were you? Who are you with?" If she wanted to spend an evening with friends, he'd sulk, saying, "Why do you need them when you have me?" Slowly, what began as a promising romance turned into a prison of suspicion. And Emily, she started pulling away. Not because she didn't care for him, but because no woman, no matter her age, wants to feel trapped. Attraction thrives in freedom, not in chains. Here's the paradox. The more Charles tried to control her, the less he actually had her. The more he doubted, the more he gave her reasons to question whether he was truly the strong man she thought he was. Now think about this for yourself. Do you want to be the man who pushes love away because of fear? Or the man who attracts love by standing strong in trust and calm presence? The truth is, the most magnetic men are those who don't need to control their partner to feel secure. They lead with trust, confidence, and self-mastery. And when a younger woman feels that strength, she doesn't run, she leans in closer. Because love built on control isn't love at all, it's weakness. And weakness is never attractive. 4. Neglecting health and appearance. When you think about the moments you shared with someone you loved deeply, do you remember the expensive gifts they gave you? Or do you remember how alive they looked when they smiled? How their energy filled the room? How they carried themselves with strength and confidence? See, love has always been tied to presence, to vitality. And here's where many older men lose their spark. They begin to neglect their health and appearance. They stop exercising, their clothes become outdated, they don't bother to groom themselves the way they used to, and they convince themselves with one dangerous excuse: I'm older now, it doesn't matter. But let me tell you, it matters. Let me share a story. There was a man named Thomas, 52 years old, once full of life. In his younger days, he loved to play tennis, he dressed sharply, and people admired his energy. But over time he got comfortable. He gained weight, his posture slouched, and his wardrobe became dull. When he started dating a younger woman, he thought his wisdom and experience would be enough. At first she liked him, he was kind and intelligent. But as weeks went by, she noticed something missing. He lacked vitality, he avoided physical activities, made excuses for being tired, and didn't seem to take care of himself anymore. Slowly, the attraction faded, not because of his age, but because he looked like a man who had stopped respecting himself. And that's the heart of it. Neglecting your health and appearance doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. It sends a silent message: I've given up. And younger women pick up on that message immediately. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. Part of honoring that privilege is treating your body and appearance with care. No, you don't need to look 20 again. You don't need a six-pack or a movie star face. But you do need to show that you respect yourself enough to stay active, sharp, and presentable. Think about your own love story for a moment. Remember when you first fell in love? Didn't you want to look your best when you met that person? Didn't you make an effort to smell good, dress well, and keep yourself healthy, not just for them, but for you? Why should that change with age? Younger women are not looking for perfection, they're looking for vitality. They want a man who still has life in his eyes, who walks with energy, who dresses with pride. Because when you take care of yourself, you're not just showing her your best, you're reminding yourself that your best days aren't behind you, they're still here. So ask yourself, are you presenting yourself as a man who has stopped living, or as a man who still has fire in his soul? Because attraction doesn't die with age. It dies when you stop respecting yourself. 5. Talking down to her. Have you ever been in a relationship where the person made you feel small? Maybe they always corrected you, dismissed your ideas, or spoke as if they were above you. Do you remember how it made you feel? Not loved, not cherished, but diminished. This is one of the biggest mistakes older men make with younger women. They confuse experience with superiority. Instead of using their wisdom to guide and uplift, they use it as a weapon, to lecture, to belittle, to remind her constantly of how much she doesn't know. And here's the thing, at first she might tolerate it. She might even smile politely when you correct her or laugh when you roll your eyes at her inexperience. But over time that smile fades, because no woman, no matter her age, wants to feel like she's dating a teacher who grades her instead of a partner who values her. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Richard, 55 years old, dating a younger woman named Lily. Lily admired his knowledge. He'd lived through decades she hadn't, and she loved hearing about his travels, his lessons, his perspective on life. But Richard had a flaw. Every time Lily shared an opinion, he cut her off. If she said she liked a certain book, he'd tell her it wasn't real literature. If she shared a dream about starting her own business, he'd scoff, saying, "You're too young to understand how hard that really is." What began as admiration slowly turned into exhaustion. Lily stopped sharing her thoughts with him. She stopped opening up, and eventually she walked away. Not because she didn't value his wisdom, but because he made her feel invisible. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows what is good." True wisdom is not about proving you know more, it's about knowing when to listen, when to uplift, and when to respect another person's perspective. Now think about your own love story. Remember when you first fell in love? Wasn't it because the other person made you feel seen? Didn't you hang on to their words because you felt they respected yours? That mutual respect is what keeps attraction alive. Here's the irony. When an older man talks down to a younger woman, he thinks he's showing strength. But to her it shows insecurity. A truly confident man doesn't need to belittle. He empowers. He doesn't crush her ideas. He nurtures them. And when a younger woman feels respected, when she feels her voice matters, she doesn't see the age difference anymore. She sees a man worth admiring, worth trusting, and yes, worth loving. So ask yourself, are you the man who makes her feel small, or the man who makes her feel like the best version of herself? Because attraction isn't about proving you're smarter, it's about proving you're strong enough to respect her. 6. Losing mystery and masculine edge. Do you remember the early days of falling in love? That rush of excitement, the butterflies in your stomach, the way you couldn't wait to figure the other person out. Half the thrill wasn't just in what they said, but in what they didn't say. The mystery, the unknown, the excitement of peeling back layers slowly. It was intoxicating, wasn't it? Now here's the problem. Many older men forget this simple truth. In their desire to secure a younger woman's affection, they give everything away too quickly. They text constantly, overshare their emotions, reveal every detail about their life, and make themselves overly available. At first it might feel like closeness, but soon what happens? The spark dies. Attraction thrives on curiosity, and curiosity dies when there's nothing left to discover. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Anthony, 48 years old, who started dating a woman 20 years younger. In the beginning, she was drawn to his confidence and mystery. He spoke little but with purpose, carried himself with calmness, and didn't feel the need to prove himself. But as soon as he realized she liked him, Anthony panicked. He thought, "I need to make sure she never leaves." So he began flooding her with messages all day, constantly asking what she was doing, telling her every detail about his past, and rearranging his entire schedule around her availability. What started as magnetic quickly turned suffocating. She lost the excitement because she no longer had to wonder about him. He had given it all away. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Part of being a man isn't in over-explaining yourself or overexposing your soul. It's in holding steady, keeping some mystery, and letting your presence speak louder than your words. Think about your own love story. Remember the first time you looked into someone's eyes and felt there was more to them than what they showed you. That silent depth is what pulled you in. It wasn't them telling you every thought. They let you discover it piece by piece. That's what kept you coming back. Younger women crave that same feeling. They don't want a man who's an open book on the first page. They want to turn the pages slowly to discover layers of strength, wisdom, and passion over time. Here's the truth. When you lose your mystery, you lose your masculine edge. You stop being the mountain she's drawn to, climb and start being the plain field she can see in one glance. So ask yourself, are you giving everything away out of fear she'll leave? Or are you holding your ground, letting her curiosity keep the fire alive? Because attraction doesn't just come from what you reveal, it comes from what you withhold. The strongest men don't rush to prove themselves. They let their mystery do the work. 7. Desperation for validation. Have you ever met someone who constantly needed to be reassured? Someone who couldn't sit in silence without asking, "Do you still like me? Are you mad at me? Am I good enough?" At first you might find it cute, maybe even flattering. But over time, what happens? It starts to feel heavy, like you're carrying their self-esteem on your back every single day. Now imagine how a younger woman feels when she dates an older man who should radiate confidence, but instead, he's begging for validation. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named David in his early 50s who began seeing a younger woman named Clara. In the beginning, she was impressed by his maturity. He carried himself with a quiet strength, and that made her feel safe. But soon, little cracks began to show. David started asking questions like, "Do you really find me attractive even with my wrinkles?" Or, "You're not texting anyone else, right? You're not losing interest in me, are you?" At first, Clara reassured him, but with time, she started to feel like his emotional babysitter. Why? Because desperation for validation doesn't come across as love. It comes across as insecurity. And insecurity is the fastest way to kill attraction. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that for a moment. The more you depend on others to tell you who you are, the less power you actually have. A younger woman doesn't admire an older man because he's perfect. She admires him because he's steady, because he knows his worth without needing applause, because his self-esteem doesn't rise or fall with her approval. Now, don't get me wrong, every human being wants to feel appreciated. A compliment feels good. A smile from someone you love warms your heart. But when you start depending on it, when you need constant reassurance just to feel okay, you stop being a rock and start being quicksand, and no woman wants to sink into that. Let me make this personal. Think about your own life. Have you ever noticed that the people you respected most weren't the ones shouting for recognition? They were the ones who moved with quiet confidence. The ones who didn't need to ask, "Do you believe in me?" because their actions already spoke for them. That's what women crave too. Not a man who constantly asks if he's enough, but a man who knows he is enough. So here's the truth. The moment you start seeking validation from her, you hand her all the power, and nothing destroys attraction faster than imbalance. The Stoics remind us, your worth must be unshakable, rooted in character, not in her opinion of you. If you can master this, you'll not only keep her respect, you'll keep your dignity. Final thoughts. So let's recap quickly. Younger women are not turned off by age itself. They're turned off by the habits that age often brings. Flaunting wealth instead of character, living in the past, overcompensating with jealousy, neglecting health, talking down, losing mystery, and chasing validation. If you can eliminate these habits, you instantly separate yourself from the crowd. You stop being the man who's trying too hard, and you become the man who carries himself with calm, stoic strength. Remember, Marcus Aurelius never sought applause, attention, or external approval. He sought mastery over himself. And that's the key here too, because a man who masters himself will never struggle to attract the right kind of woman, no matter his age. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.